Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So we finished the bronze nuts here, and the next part of this drive system is a modification of this worm gear. With the bore it, counter bore it, and then put our drive pins in. Basically, these will be coupled together like this, and this is what actually rotates this nut. So let's get started. This ought to be interesting. These gears are cast iron, and they run against a hardened steel worm, which is actually a really good bearing surface. Now, a couple of guys asked about this particular bronze alloy here. 954 is actually a really hard bronze. It's not brass, it's bronze, and it has aluminum in it. And it's very hard. It's very corrosion resistant. Actually, you can heat this up glowing red and it doesn't oxidize, so it's kind of a unique material. Anyway, it also is really excellent against stainless steel. The coefficient of friction is very favorable against stainless steel, so it's a good reason to use it. So it's about as strong as steel, or stronger than some steels actually, and it's hard and it's slippery against stainless steel, so that's why we chose it. All right, let's get cracking. All right. Let's check the face again. Okay, so here's an interesting problem that comes up every once in a while. This counter bore here that we've been working on is not very deep. It's only, excuse me, about 200 thousandths deep. So these actually don't work very well for that. It's just barely there, and it's hard to get a good reliable measurement with these in a shallow groove like that. Now it looks like we're past halfway, but we can't. It's hard to tell where you are, if you're at the midpoint or not. Okay, so what do, right? If you need an accurate measurement, well, you can use calipers, right? If you're careful and get a pretty good measurement, but what if that step has to be within, half a thousandth or something like that, right? That's not the case here, but it's always an interesting, thought process as to if you had to do it, right? the work that you do is directly related to your ability to measure it, right? So what? So you can make a plug gauge, but you'd need another lathe, or you'd have to be smart enough to make it ahead of time, or you need a different kind of a tool. So let's take a little break here, and we're going to go over on the bench, and we're going to look at some tools that could be used to measure a little step like this. Okay, so here's our step measuring problem here. We have a shallow recess that we want to measure the diameter in a precision way, right? And we just discussed how these don't quite work in that situation. Well, I've got a couple of tools here that are kind of designed for that purpose, okay? Now, a couple of these. Now, I got this one, Horse Trading with Paul Compton over in England, and that's this little guy right here. And then we have this little monkey here, that's separate, which is a Intaglio, and I have to tell you guys, you know, I have this stuff here, right? But these are a little tricky to use, and this one in particular, it's tricky to set, and it's tricky to get consistent measurements with. So you need a diameter or a space that you can set these with. You can set them with a micrometer like so, okay? But it's, I would call it challenging, okay? I don't use this every day, but it's challenging to get them set, and it's challenging to get good measurements with them. So now there's some commercial tools that are made that are actually really good, but they're big bucks, okay? Now this one here, you set this one kind of the same way, all right? This has a little retracting lever here, and you can set it, let's see if I can do it. It's like you need, okay, you need another hand, okay? You really need another hand. All right, so I had already set these, and I'll show you a way that I use to set these, which includes these, using these little space blocks or some gauge blocks, okay? This happens to be a kind of a humanoid dimension here to fit that, so it's not any weird, super weird size. So let's go show you how I set these occasionally. All right, so we get these space blocks made up in the into our dimension here, and it happens to be 2 1/16, a little bigger than 2 inches. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use our vise to create a gap here. All right, and I'm just going to lightly clamp these here so you know they don't move around. So what we've done here is these jaws we know that these are pretty parallel, and these surfaces are ground and hard and nice. So we've created a space that's like our micrometer, and we don't need to hold on to it, and it's a little bigger than the micrometer surface. So now what we can do is we can go in there and we can actually use this to help us set this, right? And like I said, it's tricky. Now this particular one, this gauge I think needs a little bit of help because it's got some wonkiness in the legs, okay? It's used, actually it's pretty cool. It came from the Thorn EMI company in England, which is a defense contractor there, and see how they spelled defense over there? It's a little bit wonky, and I need to send it back to MR Tool and see if he can help it out at all. But I can I seem to be able to get a pretty good consistent measurement with it. And then this one, it's the same thing here, except it uses one of your own indicators here, and it's got a little dovetail mount that you can slide it in there. These are pretty good for reaching inside and measuring like O-ring grooves and things like that. But once again, it's kind of an awkward instrument, and we squeeze it and fish around and hopefully get to our number, all right? So, but all of these fit. I don't I even have the part in front of me here. But all of these fit in here. That's the key. And you can fish them around. So you can't even, it's even hard to look at them, okay? Like I said, it's even hard to look at them, okay? So there's a couple of ways. Yeah, these, like I said, these things are annoying. These little devices like this, they can be. So anyway, that's a way you can set them. You know, these are relatively inexpensive, so if you want something to keep in your box in case you run into this, this is probably a good alternative here. They're not super expensive, and they use your own indicator that you already have, probably. So this is much more expensive. This has a much larger range here. It'll go from 3/8 to 6 inches, so about 10 millimeters to 150 millimeter range. And it's got a bunch of different tips that go on it too, so, okay? Anyway, so let's go finish our gear up, and then we'll come and do the mill work. Here's where you need 3 hands. So you're fishing around, you're trying to find the low. All right, that looks pretty good. Just don't bump it, Mr. Wizard. Let's go measure. Let's see what we got here. Sets a little teeny bit high over here. All right, snug that up. Pretty close. Double check. All right. Now, while we're here, let's see what we got here.
That's going away. Plus. All right, now we're talking. That's pretty close. All right. Oop.